Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of Behind the Bars TV. So today's guest is Zach, all the way from Wales, who's come on to talk about specifically Parc Prison, but we will get into a bit about Zach's story and how he ended up in Parc Prison and the channel that he's actually set up on Facebook. So Zach, if you'd just like to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from.
Yeah, my name's Zach Griffith. I'm from South Wales. You can probably tell by the accent. And I run a Facebook group called HMP Prison's Justice Group. So we're like you said, we're a Facebook group. We were set up following what is now 31 deaths at Parc Prison.
And how long is this?
This is a privately run jail.
31 deaths in what space of time is this?
So we're talking 31 deaths from February 2022. So three years in 1 month, and we've got 31 deaths. That's about one a month. It's private prison, and like many deaths in prison, it's sort of tragic circumstances. But this has really hit the sort of community really hard where we're from. So it's quite a
I did do a video on my channel about it, obviously, before me and you got in contact with each other.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it was something like within a space of a few weeks, it was like 10 deaths or something mad like that.
Yeah, unbelievable. It's just they went through this really sort of toxic. Some people would say that it's still there, but they went through this really difficult moment where there was sort of really bad management under the previous director, it just lost control, completely lost control of the prison.
And you've just been released from there again 2 days ago, haven't you?
I was released from, I was in the prison, just like about 15 miles up the road in Cardiff. So it's not very far from.
Oh, right. So were you not released from Parc Prison where you were?
I've been in Parc Prison before, but obviously when the situation that we'll sort of speak about, obviously I was in Cardiff at that time.
So did you not go back?
Black and white,
So did you not go back into Parc Prison?
Not during this time. No, I was there for 3 months.
So we'll talk a little bit about Parc Prison before I get into your backstory. But Parc Prison, is that a Category B?
Category B. It's got a B Cat facility. Its operational capacity about 1750. So it's one of the biggest prisons in UK. Sorry, we got Berwyn's 2,200. But it's a very large prison.
And is it just a remand prison, or is it like a sentenced prison as well?
No, it's I think in the minimum 12 months. They have juveniles there as well. They got a juvenile unit. They have adult SWIOs, juveniles, and they also have a sex offenders area as well. X block, they got that there as well. It's quite a large prison to be fair. Quite a large prison.
So Zach, if we'll get into your story then about where were you born and where did you grow up?
So I was from proper Welsh boy. I was born in Swansea, I was born in Swansea. I'm actually from Llanelli. South Wales is about 20 miles away. I'm brought up in Llanelli. It's a proper Welsh town. So really good people around you and stuff in it, but they have that, Scottish problems. We've got the drugs and stuff, really big issues around you, the violence and stuff, and sort of crime, like everywhere. And unfortunately, it's like everywhere.
So was this more like in the surrounding areas, or was it in like the city? Because I know like the surrounding areas is a bit like up like County Durham, where I am from. It's built up by loads of little villages and towns, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a town, isn't it? It's Llanelli town, isn't it? But it's it's not a massive place, but it's like you just said with Durham, you got your rural areas, and you got your little counties, the valleys and sort of the villages and stuff. It's okay, I'm sure there's worse places in the country to be.
So what was it like when you were growing up as a youngster then? Were you getting into much trouble then?
I started at a young age. You see, I went to school, I did, and I had really bad issues. I couldn't cope. I had like ADHD and stuff. Just doing like bad crowds, isn't it? We have them issues, don't we? Like we around in bad crowds, and then you start smoking weed, you start drinking on the weekends, and it just escalates, isn't it? But by the time I went to a comprehensive school, I was completely off the rails. I wasn't even going to school. I was getting kicked out of every school I went to. I ended up in a residential school for people with like special needs. And when I say special needs, I don't mean your sort of physical mobility, that sort of thing. What I mean is like behavioural issues, learning difficulties, understanding behaviour, sort of stuff like that. Sort of couldn't control myself, and it was needed to be tamed, didn't it? Needed to be tamed at that age, and
well, this seems to be a very common occurrence as well in the prison system. You meet people who's had these type of behaviours as kids, and you wonder why they end up in prison. But that seems to get looked past
as well. People who've been in sort of that care environment, especially with ADHD, that sort of environment. It's like you said, the prison population, so many prisoners, they're them sort of them prolific offenders, that sort of living in that crime lifestyle. The prison population, the reoffending rates, a huge number of them are people, care leavers, sort of people with ADHD, and people with undiagnosed conditions as well. So many people are in prison these days with undiagnosed conditions. That's a huge issue. I think that's going to be a big, massive talking point this year. I think. The government,
like you said, it's a massive issue, especially for the ones that are serving IPP, because they can't physically restrain themselves. It's the behaviour, they can't help it. And then they get persecuted because of their behaviour, because they can't behave themselves. It's just fucking mental.
And the thing is that prison is a specialist environment. It has to be a specialist environment, because these people are responsible for the safety of the public ultimately. But with mental health in the prisons, it's simply not working. The path which they are taking at the moment is simply not working, and it's causing more harm than good to the public. You've got people with very complex needs going into the prison system, with a prison system which is ill-equipped to deal with them, and it's just that revolving door. I've seen it to my own eyes, and I feel like it's been a huge sort of feature, sort of what I've seen in the prison system, not just in my local prison, but in sort of prisons where you are, Durham, and that's very sort of you've got Durham's a BCAT local, isn't it?
It is,
and it's like that sort of in and out, that, you know what I mean?
It is, just like a revolving door.
And they're all the same faces. These people are all the same faces. They probably know what hell they're going into, innit?
So obviously, when you were progressing on from school, and when you left school, what was happening then?
Yeah, so I when I left comprehensive school, I went to a school called Ysgol Gors. It's like I said, so it's a residential school. I go in on the Monday, I'd leave it on the Friday. We'd sleep there, and they very specialist people as well, as very skilled people who were good at their job, I sort of settled down a little bit. I had that sort of routine, so I did settle down a little bit. But then as soon as I got to that 15 age, bro, I went from bad to good, then I went from good off the rails. I remember it was about 3 weeks for my GCSEs, and I've got caught, and then I got sent down, and I missed all my GCSEs, and it really did. I feel that it really set that was a crucial moment in my life. It really did set me up on a really bad path. And of course, when you're at that age, when you're sort of a juvenile, you're sort of 15, then teenage years, you have to control, you have to be, you have to have that sort of control element in your life, otherwise you go off the rails. And the difficulty was for me, because as soon as I come out of prison, of course I wasn't in that school anymore, so that all that support, it just slipped away, and then I just went from bad to worse, really.
Normally, around about that age, when you're obviously leaving school, not like you've just mentioned, it was the same around this area, it's still the same now. You enter a bit of weed, drinking, then it progresses onto the E's and the sniff, and then...
The gateway drug, in it. People often refer to that, so it is a gateway drug. It's putting yourself in that environment, in that community of people. With drugs comes crime, that toxicity,
So what was your first encounter with the police?
I something very small. You're probably going to say it's a stupid thing to do. I was about 12. I was with my stepbrother at the time. He was walking down the road, and he was like, "Oh, I dare you!" Do you know like railway, like train station gates?
Yeah.
They go up in it, and they come up and down. He's like, "I hold on in it." I was like, "Oh, what?" I was like, I didn't have that common sense in it. I just like, yeah, come on, hold on, and then the police turned up and stuff. I remember sitting in the back of the police car with my stepbrother next to me. Bro, I cried my eyes up in it. I was like, I'm going to jail. Don't send my daddy to jail and stuff. And I think for me that was the flip that switch. It put me in, I'm in front of the police for the first day of my life, and I'm frightened. I'm scared. It's difficult, man. Like you can't really process things at that age, can you? Like you haven't got the life skills in it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah.
So then, after the party sessions and the party season, what happened after that? Then did things progress?
For me, the party scene was 2012. That's when it started. I'm not sure if you had that issue. Meow Meow, methadone.
Oh, methadone.
We had it bad down here. I remember 2012, 2011, 12, 13. I don't know where the news went in it. We just went from house to house to house to house partying. It was like a travelling party, in it.
The legal highs, wasn't it? You just go in the shop and buy them, couldn't you?
Yeah. See, that was the synthetics have been around for years, but that was the first action. And then you had the NRG, and then you had all these boys come off that. But Meow Meow, that was there are many people that would say that was they were good days in it. I mean, you got your youth, you're experiencing this high, this rush and stuff, and the drugs, and some people really like that, innit? Some people, and you can get trapped in it. You can get trapped in that sort of thing, innit? You're using these drugs, you're increasing your usage. How are you going to fund that? Well, you're gonna have to start selling selling stuff to take your drugs. And then of course you're reliant on that money in you. I was actually having a conversation with somebody about this recently, about this concept about drug dealing being an addiction. It's never spoken about. If you go into if you go into a casino, you've got the lights, you got all the and then you got the jackpot and all the money dropping. That's exactly the same as what a drug dealer says when his phone rings. Every single time that phone rings, he's hitting that jackpot. The phone's ringing. He knows that. It's like that. I see this. I actually, it's something that's not very, very often talked about, but I actually see drug dealing as an addiction itself. It's like you got the drug use, and then you got the drug dealing.
You're taking to chase the money, then, aren't you?
Yeah, and it's the money as well. Money is a very addictive thing. It is, isn't it? But I think I've never really. I don't know. For some reason, this that's a drug dealing element. It's never sort of been spoken about as sort of an addictive thing, isn't it? But it's something. There's definitely something in that. For me, certainly in my case, it's very interesting thing to know.
So, what age were you when you got sent to prison?
I was 15. But I was the first time I ever went to prison. I was 15. I actually went to HMP Parc. Actually, like I said, I was on the juveniles. I was on Golfwing. And my very first taste of prison. And I think I had a detention and training order. I think it was like maybe 3 months or something. That was really, for me, it was horrible, innit? But there was something about it at the time that felt normal because I'd lived in a residential school where I slept there in the week, so I was used to being away from family anyway. So there was something about it which it felt I was used to being away from family. So that sort of element of it that I didn't really, obviously my family could come and visit me and stuff, but yeah, I don't know, it's horrible. It's only a small wing as well. There's I think maybe 30 or 40 boys on there. Yeah, just horrible. Horrible.
What was that first night like when the door slammed behind you? 15-year-old.
Oh, I got upset, man. I got really upset in jail. And you know, when you're watching all prison things and all that, it's like scaremongering, isn't it? It's like, oh God, man. Am I going to get sexually assaulted? You know that sort of narrative, isn't it? That's like all the only things move from my head. Look, it's hard, man. But yeah.
But after a couple of weeks, I bet you fucking got settled in, and then that's when things changed.
Yeah. I actually, after, like you said, after that sort of time when they actually settled in okay, because it's like I said, I went to that residential school, so I was used to being away from family. So I think that it helped. It broke me into that sort of a little bit easier than other people would. But it was still hard at that age. It's the hormones as well, isn't it? At that age, everything just crazy me.
I think, I think if they give them a short, sharp shock, as in 1 or 2 nights, that would be enough to frighten them straight. After 2 weeks, you get used to it and you think, oh, it's not so bad, this.
Of course, yeah.
And then you're not bothered about coming back the next time.
Yeah.
That's why
what it is.
they need to do the short, sharp shock treatment to deter people from going.
To just break that. Do you know what I mean? It's an intervention, isn't it? Like, if you can react very quickly in a situation, if the person's addicted and is going to prison, intervene, bang, let's get it, put everything in place, straight in place, really focus that, really channel it in a very, because everybody's got individual needs, isn't it? Some people will have, sort of drug issues, some people, it's not so many different variations in why people enter prison, why people commit offences. It's a really complex thing, isn't it? It's really, really complex. We, as people like us, we speak about these issues every day. But the government, people like the government and stuff, they haven't lived that story. They haven't, they're trying to, base their decisions based on, data that they're presented with, based on their own life experiences, but they haven't been in that. They can't relate to us. I was actually, there was a Lord Chief Justice Wolf, one of the biggest judges we've ever had.
He's big on the IPP as well.
Yeah, he actually went to prison for 1 night. I think it was Pentacle, I think it was. He said he shaped his whole career. And incredible story. I highly recommend people look into that. Incredible guy. I'm one of the senior judges in the country. Incredible story. But yeah, I don't think like they can relate to our stories, innit? If I speak to somebody and we have that experience, you just get it, innit? But you have these people like the government in decisions, making these huge decisions, which ultimately affect everybody, innit? It's we say it all the time on the group, the decisions that they make, they affect everyone. And the cultures in the prison, they also affect everyone as well. These people are coming up. 99% of all people will one day come up.
Like you see as well, like people like you and myself doing these podcasts and doing the channels, people learn a lot more of us who's actually been there and lived it, and coming out and talking sense and not bigging it up and giving it the big one, talking sense, and letting people know exactly what it's really like.
Yeah,
trying to deter
I want to say about the prison, the high walls, and people can't see in it. Like, we build the bridges, innit? We put the bridges in place between the prisons and the open. We join them dots in it. So it's But I think that at the moment, I think that we're at the start of change. I think the prisons are really, really coming into sharp, and you'd probably be able to rate that yourself. These prisons are really coming into a laser focus now. The public are actually asking some really serious questions. Especially when we've got like prisons like HMP Parc having these huge death rates. HMP Parc has death rates which are inconsistent to any prison in the UK. And it's them huge. That moment when we have these deaths is where the public actually start asking questions like, what's actually going on here? Innit? Why have we got private prisons running our government's job? It's the government's responsibility. It's not private prisons. It's not. They're businesses. the security companies. It's not. It's the government's responsibility. It's not. That's my views on that.
So going back to when you were 15, is that when you got released on your first time? Then what was it like then?
I was glad to be out there.
Did you go and party on your first night out?
Yeah,
it's normally the case, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking like but of course then when I go to prison, it's like you said, I'm not scared to go back in, isn't it? You've done the very worst thing you can do to me. But what does it make you angry? You're like, wow, what are you sending me to prison for? Like, he's done, he's out there, it's one of them, isn't it?
Well, young lads in that sort of mentality, it's like when you've been to prison, you've got the patch, you've come out and
that you've given me your worst, isn't it? It's like that's the attitude you got at that age, isn't it? Like, and also as well, this doesn't really get. It's like a statement these days, isn't it? It's like a badge of honor, isn't it? People are like, I've been a jail, I'm a guy, man. Like, he's a bad boy, isn't it? Do you get what I mean? Like,
so how old were you when you got your big sentence then?
So my they escalated it. They escalated. Class B's, and I'm in the class A scene, and I'm moving the gear. I just went crazy, bro. And then obviously, you start associating with different groups of people when you start going into class A scene, don't you? You go from your street dealer, and you start playing a big game, and it's a very dangerous game because that's where the big sentences are on it. You start playing with the class A's. That's where your big sentences are, especially for me at the time as well. I was heavily. I didn't. It's like I said, drug dealing and drug use often goes hand in hand in it. Unless you're right at the top of that ladder, these things are inextricably linked. Like, so it was for me. It was that constant escalating from you smoking weed to then selling weed to taking me off selling, and it's just growing and growing and growing, and then you got class A's in your hand. Your life is just you're ruining your life, and you're switched off to it. You can't see. Sometimes they say some people can't see what's right in front of them because they're blinded by that culture that they're living in. And for me, I made my own culture, and it's terrible, mate. It's really, really bad. Look. But yeah, my big sentence for the conspiracy one, that was in 2016, Operation Panther. We got soccer. I don't know if you've got soccer up there.
Youth organised crime agency.
Yeah, soccer. So it was like a joint operation with soccer and some NCA sort of involvement as well. There was we run the surveillance and stuff. All of our cars cameraed up and stuff.
What age were you at this time?
Sorry?
What age were you at that time?
I was still 16 that was, so that would have been it was about 24, 25, that sort of age. For me, it was like, I didn't even know. I thought that, I'm actually doing okay, I'm making good money and stuff. And next thing I know, I'm in the police cell, and this operation has been going on for I don't even know how long. I've got all these photographs of me all over the country, like how didn't I see this? Like, it's unbelievable. Like, if you want to, they love you seeing it. You can't see it.
You remember the film here? It was a Twin Town.
A Twin Town, yeah. Swansea City, yeah.
Did you think you were in that film?
I think like them films. Yeah, it's good. It's actually filmed not far from it. And normally, when I was done my big sentence, I'd done up in England. Not many English boys actually knew about that film.
The classic.
Highly recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Classic. Classic film, that one.
Yeah, but yeah, you get trapped into that sort of thing. But yeah, it was 24, 25.
When this operation was ongoing, had you done many sentences in between that then?
Yeah, I'd been, but not like
just shorter ones.
Violent. Yeah, you're 3 months, 6 months. Not a violent criminal. No, nothing like that. I was sort of just like antisocial, they're reckless, that kind of thing, But then things escalate, don't they? If they're not challenged, they escalate. Learned behaviours, they call it, isn't it? It's these learned behaviours. Yeah. I've never been a violent person. I've never been, a violent person.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So with the operation and everything, then were you banked the rights? Did you plead guilty on that?
I was screwed, mate. I mean, like, I was absolutely. I didn't. It was over. As soon as I was then handcuffed to the wrong mate. Basically, I got tipped off in it. Basically what happened is there was loads of us that was involved in it. I think there was like 20 odd of us that was actually caught in the end. And like what the police did during the investigation is the people that was running for me, then people had the drugs bought of them by test purchase undercover officers. So they was test purchasing my dealers and stuff. And then obviously the drugs, they were testing the drugs, and then they were the same batch of drugs that all the other people had been test purchased off the other officers. So then they're looking low. All these drugs, they're all the same strength, all the same adulterants, they're all the same. Then obviously they linked it then, and obviously they linked that to my batch, and then the officers in the end, we were going through so much gear with the police officers were actually coming to us buying this gear off us. I actually got really friendly with these officers as well. Like I mean, really friendly with them. Unbelievable, mate. Like absolutely unbelievable. It actually was one of my best mates who I grew up with. Like me and him, grew up with this guy in it, and actually the police got to me through him. Like they were so clever in what they did. Unbelievable, mate. Obviously, what I did, I had limitations in it. So the people who was running stuff. I'd only let them, knock out a certain amount in it. And once the people who buying the drugs, once they hit that amount, then obviously they get put through to me for the larger amounts. And the police sort of escalated through my people, and then they come to me, and then obviously they buying lumps of gear and stuff. And then, the story was that the story that they give us was that it was collecting the drugs of us and taking them up to Coventry and stuff. So we was really doing good prices for them and stuff. And so that was the story. They was bringing the drugs up, they were going to Coventry, and the money would come back down, that sort of thing. That went on for months, mate. And cops lumps of cash and that. Every time I'm going to meet them, you got a little bit I know at the time, the cars that I was dropping off to with the police, cameras, all the cars are all cameraed up inside and stuff. I mean, and I'm in the police station now, innit? And they're showing me these, and I'm like, how am I going to die? That's
you were devastated.
It's one of them, isn't it? But if they want you, they'll have you, innit? That's absolutely clear.
So what did they estimate the conspiracy at then?
Well, obviously, what they done, in the end, I got the pocket down to £1 in it because they had no available assets in it. They had one car in it, and I think there was a couple of grand valuation on that. But like when they get the drugs, they maximise the amount you made and all that.
Yeah.
But there was so much of it, but you see, like when that happens to you, people always see you as this. They always, when the police do these big operations, I'm sure it's the same as up there with you. When they get the dealers and stuff, they really blow the case up in it. Heavy press coverage. That stuff really stays with you, mate. Like I even today now, I still struggle to, people, the people calling for change can't be the people that are breaking the law on it. But you know what I'm trying to say? People can change in it, but you have to really. You have to really want to do that as well, innit? Do you know what I mean?
Well, what normally like if you get caught with a couple of keys, they put in like £1 million conspiracy. That's like.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't a massive player, but it was. I was out of my depth, mate, and I was out of control as well. I was out of my depth and absolutely out of control. But especially when you're in that situation and it's fueled by addiction, it's terrible, mate. Really damaging as well, and not just reputation wise, but also physical implications as well. You're actually damaging your body with that heavy drug use, isn't it? Especially when we're talking about heroin. That sort. Do you know what I mean?
Is that what it was? Is that what you were doing?
Heroin, yeah. Heroin. I was only doing the heroin, the dark and stuff. But yeah, mate, if you go into that and you sort of tie yourselves up in that, it's a one-way road, mate, and it always ends badly, innit? It always ends badly, and them voices in your ear when you're younger, the experienced people, don't. I wish I listened to them, mate. Everything would have been completely different for me, mate.
Well,
I wouldn't have had that.
You can clearly see the way you're talking about you've got regret in your face. You can't fucking hide that, you know what I mean?
Still today, no, when it really affects me, like, trying to run that, where you have a live campaign and stuff to win. And there's always going to be that people, this guy, drug dealing, done this, done that. It stays with you, doesn't it? It really does stay with you.
At the end of the day, when you're making a difference and you're trying to educate people, then obviously, if there was no backstory, then there wouldn't be. You wouldn't be there, would you? There's got to be a story, exactly, otherwise it wouldn't work.
There are, for me, but certainly for this campaign that we're doing, I have learned so much in it from the prison sentences, and it's put me in the perfect position to run this campaign in it. I know inside and out, live deep in that sort of prison sort of life, and it's.
So how long did you get for that then?
So I ended up I took a third. I walked away with a 4.5 in the end. I played they put me in they played a significant role. But I had, out of the whole conspiracy, I had the most. But see me, I took my third, bro. I seen that evidence. I took my third, and I ran away with the 4.5 in it. I was happy. This was my first class A as well. You have to remember that. So, the judge made a point. The judge said to me very clearly when I pleaded guilty. He said, that I'm going to sentence you last, innit? And I was like, and I've seen all the boys go into the court, and I'm looking at them, and as the days go on, they're all getting longer and longer and longer. Do you know what I mean? I'm seeing people there going on a 2-strike class A, and they're walking away with 3 years, and I'm going in there, and I'm like, this is my first strike. I said, how are these guys getting through? They're just crazy, bro. I think that, like, certainly for this, like I said, this is Connectly's not a massive place, but the area has a drug issue in it. It's always had a drug issue on here. But even still today, no, it's still the same. So even though they took out, us, we were a problem in it. We were. The thing is for us as well is that because of that sort of crisis that the town went through at the time, some people there was many overdoses that had happened in the area and stuff. Yeah. So that's why the operation was launched. Obviously, like you said about Swansea as well, that's 20 miles up the road and stuff. So, and obviously, there's a lot of people that died. So the area was marked anyway, innit? So yeah, so they went for our operation on this end. But I do regret it, though. I do regret it. We can't rewind the tape on that. We can't take that back.
So where did you end up when you got your sentence? What jail did you go to then?
Oh, yes. I went to Swansea, Berwyn, HMP Berwyn. I went there the third day after it opened up.
Oh, Berwyn's got quite a bad name now, wasn't it?
I was there in 2000. The prison opened up in 2000. November. I went there in November 2016, and the prison had been open for 3 days. I remember when I went there, out of the 2,200 places, only one house block was open, and that was Bala. I was on sea lowers. I remember going there, and obviously the cops knew who I was. And other cops, the sort of security in the prison, they knew who I was because of the press on the operation and stuff. And then when I walked in the jail, I get these two security coming up to me in it. And it's like, can I chat to us for a minute? There was security in the prison, and they're like, this is a new prison. We want to keep it quiet. Would you do intelligence and all that for us? And I'm like, come on, boss, I'm not that guy in it. I said, we don't do them things, innit? So that's your job, innit? But and now it's like I said, no, this prison is a very different place. Around and we guys focus on Park, but this prison Berwyn is out of control, mate.
What capacity is that? At 2,500?
2,200. I think it's the largest prison in Europe.
I think so.
HMP Parc Prison. I'm sure it's the largest prison in Europe. I'm sure it is. It's interesting as well about birds. There's actually only 3 house blocks in the jail. There's only actually 3 house blocks. There's Bala, Alwyn, and Ceiriog, and then you've got a little segregation end and stuff. But that segregation is always rammed in it. But it's the sort of new design of the prisons. I think it's 60 inmates on every thing, and there's uppers and lowers. So it's when you actually think of 2,200 people split over 3 house blocks. I think it's worth. I think it's 16 wings on every house block. Like they're like X in it, like the X design. Like you got you got 5 wells as well, like that sort of X design. But yeah, actually when it actually opened up though, probably £250 million that prison cost. They tried to call it the flagship prison. The roof fell off the prison within the first year. The actual roof come off the jail. 250 million quid. But yeah, the ship sunk. They called it the flagship of the ship sunk.
So getting around a few jails and.
Yeah, I went to Berwyn, and I come back to Park, and then I sort of went to Brinsford, went down them circles, went down to Woodhill, Luton, and then I went sort of East England, and then I went up to sort of Yorkshire, then, like Marshgate, Doncaster, Lindholm, Moreland. Mate, that was my opener.
So why did they send you around so many prisons, and did you keep getting kicked out?
Just getting kicked out, security, all these kind of security reasons, all that sort of, couldn't settle me, didn't it? It's just like I wanted to be home, innit? But the difficulty of being home is you got them circles in it. Like sometimes being away is better for you, innit? Because if you're in a local prison, you got them old associates that probably suck you back in, innit? So what it is, but I ended up in Yorkshire, and then I came back in for my local release. And I think I went back to Swansea for the local release. I think it was.
So how long did you serve out of that then?
So basically, I ended up with a 4.5. Obviously, I took my third in for 4.5. I done the whole thing. I come out.
Why done the whole 4.5?
I think I may have had like maybe 3 months out of the whole 4.5. I actually ended up doing more than the 4.5 because
recalls?
I've done recalls, and obviously I got caught with a few phones as well and stuff. It's just all added up. I think like a 4.5 year sentence turned into like nearly 7 years or something. It's like, and then obviously I had like adjudication as well, innit? So like. Crazy.
Serving like 7 and a bit.
Yeah, I turned the 4.5 in. I went during my sort of recall phase. I was getting caught with phones and stuff. Then obviously I was in court for them and stuff. Like, in the end, I just give up.
So you must have had like an extended license or something on that as well, did you? Because obviously. Well, you normally get like a 4.5 once you've done the 4.5, you've got your license, you're done then. Yeah,
so obviously the 4.5, you do half of it, didn't it? 50% of it. Yeah. So obviously I've done my 50%, and then once I've done my 50%, I do another recall. And then obviously when I was on that recall phase, that's when my sentence started increasing because I had the outstanding charges for the phones.
Oh, right.
So I'm on like a license recall, and then I've got outstanding charges, phones, and it's just building up, and I'm going through my sentence, but my sentence is going up. That sort of. It's like, but bro, I was my own worst enemy in there. Like I know that, innit? Everybody tells me that, and I know that. But it's like when you got them blinkers on, innit? You have them blinkers on. It's so difficult, mate. It's that environment as well.
Were you using drugs in jail then?
I remember, like that is at this moment when that sort of that spice got into the jail, innit? It's like. The inmates have a choice in it. I say this on my group quite often. Like these inmates actually have a choice every night. They can bang up in the night, and they can, living in that sort of horrible environment, that toxic culture, do you know what I mean? And they have a choice. They can either bang up in the night, or they can get high, or they can get pissed, and that sort of thing. And 90% of the people will always get high. And like you do that for a day, you do it for 2 days, weeks and then months and months. And obviously, you're actually living. This is your life now, isn't it? and then obviously, you know, they're expecting you to come out then. You live in, you know, that in drugs, that sort of drugged environment. You know, these guys are expecting you to come out then, and what they're expecting you to comply with all these conditions, do this, these bail, you know, like not bail, these license conditions. But what, you know, I've just been shipped to over 20 prisons. I've been on these drugs for like, well, now I have to do all this. Well, you actually think I'm able to do all this? Like, I said, look at all the things I've been doing for the last few years. Like, I'm so unstable, and it's a call for help. It's a call for help, and the help is not available. It's just so difficult. And do you know what? Yeah. If that story that so many people can relate to, so many people just, it's really difficult, isn't it?
Well, it's like I've said before on my channel as well, when you go to jail, you got one way or the other. You either want to sort yourself out, go to the gym, get fit,
100%.
come out with a better mindset, or you think, I'll just go down that route, get off my head, do me jail.
Yeah.
See, people think doing that. Some of the lads in jail have said to me, I'm doing it the easy way, getting off the heads. Where my mindset was, I'm doing it the easy way by not doing that, going to the gym and getting myself fit. It's all to do with your mindset, how you go into it.
100%.
And
100%.
also it's a lot to do with your behaviours and attitudes like yourself. If you've got underlying issues, someone's in front of you saying, oh, do you want a snort of that or do you want a bit of that? You just say, give us it. You know, you just jump on it, don't you?
Yeah. And it's not only that as well, yeah. Like, I went through phases where I was cleaning there. But you know what? Like, just takes one offer, and then bam. Like, there were moments here. I really, it's like you said, go out, you know, doing the, you know, going to work and because work can be a distraction in jail, isn't it? You know, gym visits, these sort of things can be really, you know, they can be distractions to that. You know, get you off the wings, isn't it? If you're in prison, then you can get off the wings. As long as you're not on the wings, you're not tempted to take stuff. I've always found, in it. You can get off the wings, get into work, and do all this. It can't be a distraction, in it. But it's just making that step, in it, taking that first step. I mean, but it is. It's not easy, mate. It's not easy. Like,
well, especially when you're surrounded by violence in prison as well, because of what sort of violence did you witness inside?
100%.
What was the most extreme violence you witnessed whilst in there?
There was a sex offender that you know, he got done in really badly and stuff. But I've seen other things as well. Like I remember seeing it. There was Woodhill, no HMP Woodhill. Yeah, that was a real eye opener for that prison. I was actually there with Bronson at the time as well. He was on double A cat section. Actually, you know, like he was doing all his art and stuff. I heard some really bad stories about that block, about this whole of the things that they were doing in that block. That sex offender, he was like the undercover. He wasn't. He was like, you know, really quiet. Nobody, one or two people. Do you know what I mean? But eventually, mate, he got sussed out, and he got really like. I never seen him after that. I don't know if he died.
That's why a lot of the videos I'm doing on my channel at the minute, they're getting hundreds of thousands of views because people are loving hearing the stories about the bacons getting done inside the jail.
100%.
Like all of them, the majority of them eventually get what I call as prison justice, and they get done inside.
Yeah, it's always been like that, hasn't it? We've always had that. But you see, like, you know, not going to be no advocating violence, but it's like, you know, sometimes it has to happen, isn't it? Like, you know, with certain crimes, is, you know, the public don't like, in it. It's one of them, innit? And but what's happened over the last couple of years is the sex offender population has increased, and the prison, you know, these people have to be put in this, you know, safety environment, innit? But because the space is running out, they're actually on the landings. They're actually on the wings with people, like, and once that starts happening once or twice, you're like, I can't trust anyone. Like, show us your debts, mate. Show us where's your paperwork? You're like, it's one of them. Like, no, every single time I go into prison, my most precious possession is my paperwork, because I'm like, yo, do you know what I mean? No, it's like a safety device, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like, because like people, you know, it is happening. The violence is increasing in prisons all across the country. And and again, HMP Parc Prison, the violence rates have gone up there. That's unbelievable, and they've started to come down now since April. But they at one point, it's, I think, like a 300% increase year on year, sort of during that period they went through. But,
so we'll start talking about obviously HMP Park more now, and then obviously your group. It's called HMP. What's
HMP
called again?
HMP Prisons Justice UK.
So you set that group up obviously because family members. I've noticed obviously I'm on the group myself. I've had a look. When family members can't or don't have contact from the prisoners inside, they come onto your page looking for support and asking, does anyone know if the prison's on lockdown? What's happened? I haven't heard of my son, or haven't heard of my brother. Is he dead? Because that's how bad it is in that prison. When you don't get contact from the inside, from your family members, they're worried sick, thinking that they're dead because there's that many deaths happened in there. But what are these deaths all down to then, Zach? Is it down to the spice or what? Or
so, we magazines are a big problem. These synthetic opioids, carfentanil, fentanyl, these sort of opioid drugs, synthetic opioids and stuff. Many of them are, there are inquests going on at the moment. It's sort of with about these deaths. But when a death happens in custody, what happens is there's all deaths in custody investigated by the Prison Probation Ombudsman, and then when that happens, what basically happens is they'll basically file a report. That report then gets presented to the families of the deceased. And then the family then can respond to that report. They can accept it, or they can say, this is wrong for this reason. And then the people, after they've reconsidered that, if there's, if they push back against the report, it then goes for a final inquest, and then obviously the verdict of death will be given and stuff. But to many of these families, it's not just this prison as well, it's many other prisons in the UK. This process can take years, mate. It's every now we're coming on to the third year. So I think we've had something like 3 PPO things have come out. We've got another 28 to go. But and suddenly, if a death happened yesterday, well, now we have to wait another 3 years just for. And these families, mate, this is not closure for them. They're not getting closure. And this is one of the difficult things I have with the group is I feel there's time we have to be very careful in how we manage things, because and I'm very aware of this, there's an element where we can, by doing what we're doing and keep releasing these stories, breaking these stories, getting that exposure to the prison, is that there's also an element in that where the families can become re-traumatized by that. When it's like 2 days ago now, I broke another death that happened in HMP Cardiff. I'm very, very aware when I do this that for many of these families, that takes them straight back. It reminds them exactly when that happened to them. So, really challenging thing. Really, I have to be very delicate in it, but at the same time, it's really important that we raise that case, so we raise that awareness about these deaths. But it is a challenging thing to do.
Well, it's a big weight on your shoulders as well when people are looking to you for comfort as well and looking for answers and stuff and contacting you all the time.
Really, it's changed my life, completely changed.
But in a good way, there's always you always get a negative, positive out of a bad situation.
Yeah,
obviously it's changed your life. It's give you a purpose, honest.
So it's like I said to you when I done my conspiracy thing. I've done that long sentence. That gave me all the tools I needed to do this right now. I know the processes, I know the procedures, and that's really paid dividends to many people on my platform. Even it's not just even simple things like property. Getting answers out of a prison difficult. We have the answers there for them. So it's like that life experience that I now have has actually helped thousands of so many people have been helped by the work that we've done. It's very rewarding as well, when we can get that property into that prisoner's hand. It's like, we made change. We got simple things. Simple things are some of the most simple things to prisoners. Some of the most important. Having their own clothes is comfort, isn't it? It's a comfort. And also, families, so families are then obviously will know that their loved ones are okay, they got what they need, and if they need any help, they come to us, we'll help them, we'll help them do this. It's very rewarding, but it is a difficult thing to do. There's a huge sense of responsibility. We have made mistakes along the way as well. The trolls come for us when we first started the group. The group was growing, quite steadily. But then, obviously, once the riot happened, the group just absolutely popped. It went through the roof. And then, obviously, we become well known around doing stuff. And then, obviously, the group, the thing that we've managed, the thing that I said to you before, we're very targeted and stuff. We've got 7,000 members now. So when you consider a channel like yours, it's not actually that much, but it's a very local issue. So these are 7,000 people. It's really concentrated, and these people, they have loved ones in Park Prison. We have eyes and ears on every single landing, every single house block. So we get that intelligence. Every single thing that happens in that prison comes to us, and then we can release that. Then we break stories to the media, and then we'll release story on our platform. We break it to the media. The media verify it, and that gives us credibility. And then when we say something next, they know we're saying the truth. But with that, it's a very helpful thing to have with a campaign like this. It's been really successful for us. But also, I'm very mindful of the fact not to abuse that sense of that, not to abuse that. Yeah. And it is challenging and stuff. But
I know a lot of deaths that are happening in the prisons at the moment. It's like you've just mentioned there, like the lace and the spice with this fentanyl and stuff. Yeah. But you'll know yourself when you've been in prison with the lads before, and if someone goes over on the wing and dies or whatever, instead of everyone thinking, keep away from that, it's dangerous, everyone says, it's power, quick, we need some of that, where's it at? Who's got it? Yeah. It's like, it's just killing people and people want it.
It's called hotspot, see. There's a process called hotspots. So if you're using like a liquid dip, instead of like a paste or a powder, then sometimes if you're going to mix that with like a fentanyl, you can get hotspots on the paper. It can so you may have there's an ASO sheet, for example.
Yeah.
And then a little bit of fentanyl spread in certain patches. Some patches will be, they're called hotspots. And if you hit the hotspot, the chemical's not even, so it'll be more concentrated in one area than another area. And that's how people die. So it's not like when you have a spice paste and you paste it onto paper and you've got that. But with the fentanyl, it can be very different. Like these things have to, especially the synthetics, isn't it? Synthetic opioids are really potent. I think acetylnitrazine can be up to 1,000 times as strong as a morphine. We think of morphine, we're thinking of heroin.
That's mental.
Unbelievable. Not just the fentanyl, is another derivative called carfentanil, which is a more potent version of fentanyl. And then you got then the nitazines, which are more potent than the carfentanil. The nitazines is, I think, the world's most synthetic and most potent opioid. Some batches can be 1,000 times stronger than morphine.
That's insane. It's absolutely insane. That
crazy, mental, it's just crazy.
Have you seen that? Have you seen the videos on YouTube in Philadelphia over in America and stuff when they're in the streets and they can't move? They look like zombies and stuff. That's the same sort of stuff.
Vancouver, in Vancouver as well, in Canada, and on Netflix and stuff. It's crazy, mad, isn't it? To think because they didn't. I remember when we went to the 80s and stuff. They had a heroin epidemic and stuff, and now. If you think about that, you couldn't really imagine the drugs culture of today, what it was then. Just couldn't imagine it, It absolutely is. It is unbelievable,
So has there been some recently in Park then, has there?
Yeah, so, the last one that the last death which we had was actually linked to these magazines. Again, I'm sure that he never knew what was about to happen to him, and difficult, isn't it? Because he was found in in the toilet yourself. Yeah, I'd respond to it.
Well, did you hear
And
about
the thing is,
that? Did you hear about the prisoner that burnt alive inside of his cell? I'm not sure.
no,
I'm not sure which prison it was. It was over here. It was only a
yeah,
couple of weeks ago. You know how they get the lighters off the sockets? They use the wires
yeah,
off the kettle and stuff. Well,
yeah,
he's had his pipe and he's buckled over,
falling over.
went under the socket, his top caught fire, and he burnt to bits inside the cell. Obviously, he was that out of it. It didn't wake him up.
Mad, isn't it?
Just burnt to death.
Hmm.
Absolutely cracking.
Like, I'll be straight with you, mate. Like, I you know, many people have asked me, why, why am I specifically doing this? And I've never actually told this on my platform before, it. But when I was in Stokeheath, I actually went overdosed myself. I remember, I finished. I was one of the surgery boys at the time, cleaned all up, and also we sorted, sent a trolley back, went up to the cell, and the guy was like, "You just come off a visit, you know?" And he had a big lump in it, a big block of the green spice in it.
Right.
The flower material, it's organic in it. And I smoked it, I had a little thing of it, and then that was about 4:30, and then 11 o'clock in the night, I opened my eyes and I had blood all over me. I had like all sticky tabs, like the hospital tabs and stuff. Like a little blue, like a little sticker, and
Right.
beads onto it. It's like a heart thing or something in it.
But
I remember I used that drug, and that's all I can remember. I can't remember absolutely nothing after that. And then I come in the next day, and the guys were like, "Yo, you don't know how lucky you are to be alive in it." They said if their healthcare hadn't come that moment, they said it was literally, they thought you were gone in it. They couldn't get you, like you just weren't responding. You were all blue and stuff. And I think to myself that these boys in the park had died from these drugs. At the same moment in which I smoked that drug, I never knew that was going to happen to me, and neither did they. And I'm alive, and they're not as lucky as I was. And I could have been any single one of them. I could have been any single one of them boys. And I've never told my own platform article because I don't want this to become a distraction to, do you know what I'm saying? It can't be taken in the wrong way, innit? It's like, you've done that yourself. So,
did you never touch it after that then?
Me, that's the thing with addiction, innit? It's not that simple, innit? Some people can learn from a lesson like that, but for me in that moment, it made me I'd become more careful and stuff. I wouldn't, every time I'd use a different batch, I'd use it from I'd only have a tiny amount, like a test, But it's not easy. It's really, really not easy for It's like that environment again, isn't it? You're living in that environment and stuff. But yeah, it's really difficult.
So Zach, I know we're a bit conscious with time and stuff, but what's happening? Obviously, what's happening with your life now? I know you've just getting back out of prison, but that was something that was unfortunate, which we can't talk about. But you're moving on with your life now. What's happening with your life now? Where do you want to see yourself in the next few years?
I'm actually doing really good. I don't know. I'm sort of just, for me, at this moment, stable, off the drugs. For me as well, when I'm on the one license, it's actually really helpful to me in some ways because it's not only my willpower that's driving me. I know that there are I have a license which I have to comply with, isn't it? So if you see it in a certain way, it actually can be really beneficial to you. The licenses can be really good for that being constructive and giving you that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, it's so easy to go back to jail these days, isn't it? It's so easy. Like it would be very like this. How it's probably as good as all. So easy, isn't it, to go back in.
Well, of course it is. I've just getting. I don't know if you know, but I've just getting my IPP terminated. I've been on license for 20 years nearly. Yeah. Wait, it's absolutely. Well, I've had that sentence for 20 years nearly. But I've finally, since the age of 20, I'm 40 this year. I'm now free of license and anything. But I'm just keeping myself right on that straight path and just getting on with my life now.
So See, your license is done. The license
It's
terminated.
done. I can't be recalled now, and then this is the first time in 20 years.
Amazing.
First time in
Amazing.
20 years I don't have to worry about prison.
That's unbelievable, man.
Did you come across...
You know, I love hearing stories like this, innit? Because, like, it hits me in my heart, innit? Because I've been in prison with so many IPPs that have lost their life, you know.
Was there many IPPs in Wales? Did you come across many in Park and Swansea and stuff? There are.
Unfortunately, as you know, if you are lucky enough to get out of prison, you have to be very, very lucky to stay out. One of the people who run my group with me, she's IPP in action, Bernadette, incredible woman. Obviously, I know it.
I spoke with Bernadette. I'm going to get her on at some point.
She's amazing. Such credit.
Yeah.
Such a credit to my platform. She's incredible. I really, really hope that we can get her partner out in it. He's still in the prison now. Hard for him, man. Like, he's got kids home waiting for him.
I know, it's terrible. Like, he's in there suffering with his mental health problems, and they're not releasing him because of his mental health, which is absolutely shocking.
And we started off there as well, didn't we, saying about our mental health, specialist environment, and these people are just being failed, giving them the diagnoses which are not confirmed by anybody, and then you got the parole boards placing this huge emphasis on the very risk of adverse. And we know in so many cases this risk is actually a false presentation of risk. It's not an actual true representation. There's a risk and there's a threat in it. I can be a risk because of my past behaviour. That doesn't mean you're a threat. It doesn't mean that you pose a threat to people, innit? They don't have to prove risk, innit? They don't have to prove your risk to keep you in jail, innit?
But they're keeping them in now because they're a danger to the public, but because they're a danger to themselves and because they've got mental health.
Yeah.
Well, the mental health is caused because of the sentence, so how the fuck does that work?
It's the public is still to this very moment right now, the public, very, very few members of the public actually understand that there are still, I think it's 3,000 IPP prisoners in jail at the minute.
Still in 3,000?
It's something like it. These people are serving unlawful prison sentences. The European Court of Human Rights said that this is illegal, what they're doing. What responsible government does that? What responsible government, responsible for its citizens, put people in prison? What about the rule of law? Where you want to put 7 people to prison for breaking the law? Well, you're the ones keeping in prison for an illegal sentence.
Mental, isn't it?
The public don't get this, isn't it? It's so unbelievable, mate. But I'm really glad you got your sentence. That's amazing for you, isn't it?
Oh, definitely,
amazing. You feel like I can't imagine what I'd be like in it.
It felt like it was never going to happen, but eventually it did.
The worst one I ever heard was a guy from Bristol. He stole a car, and the guy, a member of the public, was hit. He had an IPP sentence for that. His intentions at the time was to steal the car. His intentions were never to kill anybody, and they gave him IPP for it. I mean, not good, mate.
There's a lad up in here, over there in Newcastle. He was 17 years old when he stole a bike and a mobile phone, a robbery of another teenager. They give him IPP. 18 years later, he's still in jail for attempted theft of a bike. Mental.
I mean, do you know what? I found myself having conversations with people in prison before, but I think there's some people may have, some people may have actually been better off killing somebody because then they would get a murder charge. But instead, the person's alive, and because he's alive, they're not doing IPP. You know what I mean by that?
I know what you mean, of course.
It's like, bro, this is where do we go? Where are we going with this? Where do we start? This is unbelievable.
I think what you were trying to say there, these IPPs that are in, people have committed murders, getting a 14, 15-year tariff.
Yeah.
they've been able to progress through the system, do the courses because they know how
to release date as well, right?
And then obviously they've still got to go for parole. But by the time the parole comes, they've had all that time to do the sentence plan,
100%.
and they get released.
Yeah.
But the IPPs who pinched a phone or a bike off someone are still in longer than someone who's murdered somebody. Where's the justice in that?
And as well, like, even, it's not, if you get them out, you've done good in it, if you get the IP out, but what's the government going to do then for these people that have been in prison? What support are they going to be provided with? It's one thing getting them out of prison, but it's another thing keeping them open it, giving them, putting things in place for them, things like work, help them build their lives. Even that element is not there really.
No.
It's just not there really, mate.
What they've done with them and kept them in that long, that it's like the damaged goods now.
They're damaged.
And it's going to take a lot to rebuild them and get them back out. And that's caused
100%.
by them. But their need,
Yeah.
Obviously it's the prisoner who can't behave inside a prison. But if they've got complex behaviour needs, then they can't physically do that. So that's the situation that they're coming up against. But they need to sort something out where they get them proper help instead of just letting them come back out and getting recalled straight back in.
Yeah, definitely. But it's like, this is why I love hearing these stories myself, because I wouldn't have heard them otherwise, isn't it? It's like so important, that I always like the backstories, isn't it, for how these platforms pop up, and everybody's got their own story in it. It's so interesting, and I haven't been done IPP thing, but I can relate. I'm sure I can relate to many of the frustrations that you would have had. Yeah. Not only because some of them sort of frustrations I've lived in my own life, but I've heard them from IPP people myself, so I get it.
Well, I've got a playlist section on here where I'll be putting this video as well, where it's just a podcast section with ex-prisoners. I think I've done about over 20 up till now. Yeah, but if you do know anybody who wants to come on, share the story, give us a shout, mate, let us know.
Yeah, I will do. Yeah, listen, incredible story, mate. Amazing. I'm really glad you got your sentence gone as well.
Nice one. It's been a pleasure getting your on, Zach, and hearing your story, hearing what's happening down the Wales, and sharing what's happening in the prisons down there. So thanks for coming on. But we will leave that one there for now. But I do wish you the best, mate. But just carry on with your channel and get yourself on. I'm not sure if you're on TikTok or YouTube, but just try and get a platform where you start earning revenue as well.
Yeah. But listen, amazing, man, amazing. I really enjoyed speaking to you. Thank you for your time today.
Nice one, mate. But take care. See you, mate.
Good man. Thank you. Nice one, buddy. Ta-ra, mate.